want to reset our relationship.
President Putin is committed.
Russia's decision to send troops into Crimea has rightly drawn global condemnation. From the start, the United States has mobilized the international community and, as authorized by the executive order I signed 2 weeks ago, we are imposing sanctions on specific individuals responsible for undermining the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and government of Ukraine. We're making it clear that there are consequences for their actions.
The United States reaffirms our commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. We condemn the Russian Federation's act of aggression.
We will continue to say to the Russian government that if it continues on the path that it is on, then not only us, but the international community, the European Union and others will be forced to apply a cost to Russia's violations of international law.
Acceptable. Now, we wanted to get more on the alliance between China and Russia and its impact on diplomacy.
Well, the U.S. military tonight faces a new threat from Russia. Russia President Vladimir Putin says he's resuming long-range patrols by Russian bombers. Now, Putin's comments came as he deepened his anti-American alliance with Communist China.
More than a week now, a Russian sub has been patrolling in international waters off the east coast of the U.S. Should we be worried?
Well, today, the Russians reported that they intercepted a U.S. surveillance drone flying over Crimea. Now, according to a Russian state arms and technology group, they were able to technologically hijack this drone using complex radio electronic technology. The drone was flying at about 12,000 feet, and it was virtually invisible from the ground. But the Russian technology was able to break the link with U.S. operators. Now, according to the company who manufactured the equipment that was used to take down the aircraft, the drone fell almost completely intact into the hands of self-defense forces. They said, judging by its identification number, it belonged to the 66th American Reconnaissance Brigade that was based in Bavaria.
I'm not talking here as an antiquarian because unfortunately the Russians picked up on this and have been building exactly those radars ever since World War II. They never stopped building low-frequency, long-wavelength radars. And they've modernized them to an extraordinary extent. They build some really amazing mobile versions of them now that are both hard to find when they're camouflaged and can be erected in 40 minutes and see every stealth airplane in the world. And they sell them to anybody who's got cash.
There are indeed, Don, good evening. Well, Iranian authorities are saying they did shoot down a highly classified U.S. unmanned spy plane over their territory along that eastern border with Afghanistan. Iran says the drone they shot down was something called an RQ-170. Now, that's one of the most secret drones in the U.S. military and intelligence arsenal. Essentially, a stealth drone flies undetected, gathering intelligence and targeting information. What is the U.S. saying? Well, so far, the U.S., using the NATO alliance in Afghanistan to issue a statement, is only saying, quote, the UAV, which the Iranians are referring to, may be a U.S. unarmed reconnaissance aircraft that had been flying a mission over western Afghanistan late last week. The operators of the UAV lost control of the aircraft and have been working to determine its status. That is what the U.S. is saying about all of this.
Armed forces say they have down an intruding U.S. spy drone in the eastern part of the country. Military sources say Iranian forces detected and down an RQ-170 unmanned aerial vehicle that had crossed into the eastern border areas. They say the drone is now in the hands of the Iranian military.
Meanwhile, Communist China may be deploying an advanced new ballistic missile designed to specifically destroy U.S. aircraft carriers in one strike. U.S. Navy officials are reportedly very concerned about the so-called kill weapon. Kitty Pilgrim has our report.
This satellite photo shows a North Korean rocket ready to launch sometime this week or next. Japan has mobilized its missile defense system, and U.S. Navy ships capable of shooting down the North Korean missile, the USS Hopper, the USS Chafee, and the USS McCain, are in the area. Concerns over the possibility of a missile attack is growing in a region that includes China, Taiwan, the Koreas, and Japan.
Keep in mind that if the Chinese can hold our forces out anything close to 1,500 miles, even 1,000 miles, that puts all of our relatively short-ranged surface Navy strike capability, Marines, and so on, pretty much out of business.
Even much more dangerous than the North Korean launch, according to the U.S. Naval Institute, an Annapolis-based think tank, is a new anti-ship ballistic missile developed by China that could strike U.S. aircraft carriers from a range of more than 1,200 miles. Experts say it's a blend of ballistic missile with honing capabilities like a cruise missile at a speed of Mach 10.
No one else has this weapon right now. This is new. It takes an integration of sensors to look down and see you, and then it takes the weapon to get into the area, which is the ballistic, and then it takes a reception system that allows it to make a target. So it's all of this coming together, and folks have not seen that before, and that's what makes it new and potentially very worrisome for U.S. Navy planners.
Our ground forces have not come under attack from enemy air forces since the Korean War. This is because the United States has been able to maintain air supremacy, providing the freedom of action required by the joint warfighter to emerge victorious on the battlefield. However, for the first time, our claim to air supremacy is in jeopardy. Over the past several decades, our potential adversaries have closely followed both our technological advances and employment doctrine. These countries have implemented developmental programs to specifically counter our current capabilities. Pervasive threats, modern ground-based air defenses, has reached unprecedented lethality. Our overwhelming success in Desert Storm highlighted the inherent vulnerabilities of our adversaries' defenses. Since then, there has been a global revolution to modernize air defense systems. At the heart of this threat is the Surface-to-Air Missile, or SAM. Both Russia and China are producing state-of-the-art SAMs. Shown are several systems that are currently fielded that directly challenge our bid for air supremacy. These modern systems can engage as many as a dozen targets simultaneously, at ranges in excess of 100 miles. Furthermore, they are not tied to a prepared site. They are highly mobile, allowing them to relocate in minutes rather than hours or days. To illustrate the dynamics of the SAM threat, here is the threat ring posed by a Vietnam-era SA-2 SAM. It's located on the Washington Mall with its short-range coverage. Now we add the SA-10 and the SA-20 system, one very similar to the one being deployed in Iran. You can clearly see the dramatic increase in ranges. Next, we add the SA-21, which is currently being deployed in Russia. And finally, Russia's fifth-generation SAM will be capable of engaging targets as far away as Charlotte and Buffalo. As you can see, these systems are being proliferated globally in battalion strength, and we expect this trend to continue. The proliferation of these lethal double-digit SAMs is currently one of the most significant challenges. The Taiwan Strait is an excellent example of the impact of air defense modernization. In 2000, China had only a handful of legacy SAM systems deployed opposite Taiwan, offering limited coverage and allowing freedom of movement along most of the coastline. Over the past few years, China has been steadily deploying modern SAM systems. You can see the significant change in coverage. We expect continued expansion of this defensive barrier. The air defense threat is not restricted to land. These same systems are being deployed on board their ships, extending the air defense umbrella well over Taiwan. Looking at today's notional Chinese air defense umbrella on the strait, it is redundant, extensive, and survivable, creating an environment that would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, for fourth-generation fighters to penetrate or defeat. Moving on to the air threat, the production and proliferation of advanced fighters provides capabilities equal to or surpassing our legacy fighter. Our potential adversaries are making equally significant strides. One only has to look at the trend in aircraft development over the past 30 years to see where our legacy systems are being overtaken. Said another way, 20 years ago, our qualitative edge was matched with the appearance of the Russian Su-27 flanker. Today, our legacy fighters are being outmatched by the latest Russian and Chinese fighters. Russia is at the forefront of advanced fighter technology development. Both their MiG and Sukhoi fighter programs continue to push the envelope. Likewise, China is rapidly moving forward with significant aerospace developments based on improvements to existing foreign technologies. China currently sustains 3 major indigenous fighter programs that have integrated enhanced technology. Both Russia and China are ready and willing to export these fighters to anyone willing to pay for them. You can clearly see the extent of the proliferation problem. It will only get worse. One can easily see how these fighters are closing the gap in terms of capabilities. Over time, their advantage will continue to overtake ours as more advanced technologies are fielded. The heart and soul of these fighters is their radar. They are modern pulse Doppler, look-down, shoot-down systems with anti-jamming features. They can simultaneously track up to 10 targets and engage 4 with advanced missiles. In the air-to-air missile arena, we have traditionally held the high ground in the beyond visual range fight with our AIM-120 AMRAAM. That has all changed. China has fielded an AMRAAM-class missile of their own, designated PL-12. Russia is also fielding similar missiles. One can see the parity plus the Chinese have reached with the PL-12. Both China and Russia are also developing follow-on missiles with significantly increased range performance. They are outpacing us in the missile arena and can directly challenge our AMRAAM superiority. Enhancing our adversaries' first-shot capability is their rapid integration of modern jammers, specifically digital radio frequency memory or DIRFM-based jammers. These jammers can capture and replicate at high speed our air intercept radars. It can return a false signal, leaving our fighters blind at the most critical moment of the fight. Again, both Russia and China are fielding DIRFM systems that can deny any first launch capability. Bottom line, the size of the stick no longer matters. This technology has shifted the first shot advantage into the adversary's court. Some of these fighters are equipped with very advanced Russian engines that incorporate thrust vectoring technology. This technology provides significant and dynamic maneuverability and turning capability. The F-15C is no longer the world's premier air superiority fighter. No matter how you look at it, Russian and Chinese advanced flanker variants have achieved parity or surpassed many of the Eagle's technological advantages. The threat does not stop here. Russia recently conducted the maiden flight of its Su-35, a fourth-generation plus-plus fighter that will clearly bridge the gap between their current fourth-generation and future fifth-generation fighters. The Su-35 will incorporate numerous fifth-generation fighter attributes, such as a passive ESA radar, a high-power jammer, ultra-long-range air-to-air missiles, and Super Cruise engines with thrust vector control. We also expected to incorporate plasma stealth technology. This fighter... Our potential adversaries' fifth-generation fighters are on the horizon. Russia's future fighter is designated the PAK-FA. China's contender is called the XXJ, or F-12 fighter. Both of these fighters will likely be exported at prices that undercut the F-35. Future clients will be purchasing very advanced fighters with near F-22 capabilities in quantities rivaling F-35 production estimates. This comparison clearly illustrates how the Su-35 is bridging the threat gap. By adding the PAK-FA and the XXJ, you can see how their developing fighter programs are challenging F-22's dominance. Bringing it all together, we face significant challenges across the board. When taken in total, our potential adversaries can create an impenetrable box that our legacy fighters cannot enter, thus denying us air supremacy. Without air supremacy, we lose the most powerful edge we hold on the modern battlefield today. These challenges will only grow as our qualitative and quantitative edge continues to ebb. Remember, there is no prize for second best.